The summer air hung thick and humid over the wheat fields of Millbrook, Kansas, pressing down on 12-year-old Elena Rodriguez like an invisible weight. Most kids her age were content with small-town dreams, but not Elena. Her eyes, darkened, restless, traced the contrails of a distant F-16 cutting through the endless blue sky, a silver promise of something far beyond the corn and wheat that stretched to the horizon. Her father, Miguel Rodriguez, a mechanic at the local farm equipment shop, watched her with a mixture of pride and concern. He knew that looked the same fierce determination that had pushed him to become the first in his immigrant family to own a business. Those planes, he would say, they're not just machines, they're freedom. Elena's grandmother, Rosa, would often recount stories of their family's journey, how they had crossed borders with nothing but hope, how each generation fought to expand the boundaries of what was possible. "You have the heart of an eagle," Rosa would tell her, her weathered hand smoothing Elena's wild hair. "Not everyone is meant to stay on the ground." The local high school was a crucible of limited expectations. Small-town gossip and predetermined paths threatened to suffocate her dreams. When guidance counselors suggested practical careers, teaching, nursing, local administration, Elena's response was always the same, a silent, burning defiance that sparked in her eyes. Her first true taste of aviation came unexpectedly. At 14, she convinced her father to take her to an air show at the nearest military base. The moment the first jet roared overhead, something inside her transformed. It wasn't just the sound of thunderous promise of power, but the precision, the absolute control of these magnificent machines dancing across the sky. An F-16 demonstration pilot noticed her that day. He was watching the crowd, scanning faces. When his eyes locked with Elena's, there was recognition there not of who she was, but of who she could become. He approached her father, spoke briefly, then handed Elena a worn flight manual and a business card for a local aviation summer program. The summer program was brutal. While other teenagers enjoyed lazy days and summer romances, Elena was up before dawn, studying aerodynamics, learning the intricate language of aviation. She devoured every book, every manual, every scrap of information she could find. Mathematics became her weapon, physics her playground. Physical training was equally demanding. Elena ran miles before sunrise, did push-ups until her arms burned, studied martial arts to build the discipline and strength required of fighter pilots. Her body became a machine as precise as the aircraft she dreamed of flying. By 16, she had already earned her private pilot's license, the youngest in her county's history. The local flying club was a boys' network filled with retired military pilots and wealthy enthusiasts who initially saw her as a curiosity. But curiosity turned to respect as Elena consistently outperformed expectations. Her mother, Elena's greatest supporter and a high school science teacher, understood the deeper meaning of her daughter's pursuit. "It's not about the plane," Maria Rodriguez would say. "It's about breaking through the ceilings others have built for you." The path wasn't without sacrifice. While her peers talked about college parties and local boyfriends, Elena spent nights studying advanced mathematics, understanding complex mechanical systems, and preparing for military entrance exams. Her social life was a spreadsheet of strategic networking and skill development. ROTC became her proving ground. Here, among young men and women who shared her passion, Elena discovered she was more than just talented, she was exceptional. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, to make split-second decisions with mathematical precision, set her apart. During a challenging leadership exercise, when most cadets faltered under simulated high-stress conditions, Elena emerged as a natural leader. Her tactical thinking, combined with an almost intuitive understanding of group dynamics, caught the attention of senior military instructors. "She doesn't just see the problem," one instructor remarked to another, watching Elena coordinate a complex team maneuver. "She sees 3 solutions before anyone else recognizes there's a challenge." The night before her military academy interview, Rosa gave her a small medallion, a tiny silver eagle that had been passed through generations of their family. "Our ancestors were warriors," she whispered, "not with guns, but with spirit. You continue that legacy." As dawn broke on the day of her interview, Elena knew this was more than a personal journey. This was about proving that dreams have no borders, not a geography, gender, or expectation. The sky wasn't just a destination, it was a canvas of infinite possibility. Her story was just beginning, but the foundation was laid, a testament to unwavering determination, familial support, and an unbreakable spirit that would soon be tested in ways she could never imagine. The Nevada desert swallowed sound and light, creating an infinite canvas of challenge. Nellis Air Force Base was more than a training ground, it was a proving arena. Where dreams were either forged or shattered, Elena Rodriguez stood at the edge of the runway, her flight suit a second skin. Everything she had fought for condensed into this moment. Fighter pilot training was warfare before the actual war. Each day was a psychological and physical demolition designed to strip away everything but the purest essence of human potential. Elena wasn't just learning to fly, she was being rebuilt into a living weapon system. Her first simulator session was a brutal awakening. While other candidates struggled, Elena moved with a calculated grace that caught her instructor's attention. G-force simulations that made grown men black out became her meditation. She understood something fundamental that many missed. Flying wasn't about conquering the machine, but becoming one with it. Major Jack Harper, a decorated F-16 veteran, with 30 years of experience, watched her with a mix of skepticism and growing respect. Rodriguez isn't just good, he muttered to his co-instructor. She's something else entirely. The training pushed human limits. Centrifuge tests that simulated extreme gravitational forces became her proving ground. Where others gasped and struggled, Elena's breathing remained controlled, her mind calculating. She learned to manipulate her body's response, to become a living algorithm of survival and precision. Aerial combat training was a dance of mathematical brutality. Elena discovered she could predict opponent movements with an almost supernatural accuracy. Her spatial awareness wasn't just learned, it was instinctive. In mock dogfights, she became legendary, outmaneuvering pilots with decades more experience. One pivotal moment came during a complex multi-aircraft scenario. While her teammates faltered under pressure, Elena transformed the exercise. She didn't just complete the mission, she reimagined it, creating solutions that left her instructors speechless. It wasn't about following protocols, it was about understanding the fluid language of aerial combat. Night training revealed another dimension of her extraordinary skill. When visibility dropped and stress multiplied, Elena's performance elevated. Infrared displays, complex radar systems, split-second targeting, she processed information like a supercomputer with a beating heart. Her background became both her strength and her challenge. As a woman, and particularly as a Latina in a historically male-dominated field, Elena knew she couldn't just meet standards, she had to obliterate them. Every movement was scrutinized, every decision analyzed with microscopic intensity. Combat training in simulated war zones pushed psychological boundaries. Elena learned that true warfare happened in milliseconds, between heartbeats, between breaths. She studied not just how to fly, but how to survive, how to make impossible decisions when lives hung in quantum-thin balances. A classified mission simulation became her defining moment, a complex scenario involving multiple hostile aircraft, limited fuel, and critical extraction parameters. While others saw an impossible mission, Elena saw a three-dimensional chess match. Her solution was so unconventional, so brilliantly executed, that it was immediately classified. Major Harper called her into his office after the simulation. The room was Spartan military, precision personified. Rodriguez, he said, his voice carrying the weight of decades of aerial combat experience. You're not just a pilot, you're a strategic force. Her first actual deployment came unexpectedly. A critical mission over a volatile region where precision could mean the difference between diplomatic tension and potential catastrophe. Elena's F-16 became an extension of geopolitical strategy, a flying instrument of national security. During a high-risk reconnaissance mission, she encountered a scenario that would define her early career: unexpected ground-to-air threats, complex electromagnetic interference, and a window of opportunity measured in heartbeats. Where others might have retreated, Elena engaged, gathering critical intelligence that would later be credited with preventing a potential international conflict. The physical toll was immense. Each mission stripped layers of conventional human limitation. Her body became a finely calibrated instrument, muscles trained to withstand forces that would incapacitate most humans, reflexes honed to respond faster than conscious thought. But it wasn't just technical skill. Elena understood the profound psychological landscape of combat aviation. Every mission carried human stories, potential lives saved, complex moral equations solved in milliseconds. She wasn't just a pilot, she was a guardian of invisible boundaries. Her fellow pilots began to see her differently. not as a diversity statistic or a breakthrough narrative, but as the person you wanted beside you when the sky turned from blue to something more dangerous. Respect in fighter squadrons isn't given, it's earned in increments of survival and excellence. As her first deployment concluded, Elena knew she had transformed. The girl from the Kansas wheat fields had become something else entirely, a precision, instrument of human potential, a bridge between technological marvel and pure human spirit. The sky was no longer a destination, it was her domain. The civilian terminal felt like foreign territory. Elena Rodriguez stood with her military duffel bag, a ghost of her former self, watching passengers move with a casual indifference. That felt alien after years of military precision. Leaving the Air Force wasn't a decision, it was a negotiation with herself, a complex calculation of cost and potential. Her last military briefing echoed in her mind. Colonel Marcus Reyes, a mentor who had watched her rise through the ranks, spoke with brutal honesty. The military doesn't own you forever, Rodriguez. But what you've learned, that's yours, forever. Transitioning to commercial aviation was like learning a new language, while simultaneously forgetting another. The F-16's razor-sharp responsiveness was worlds apart from massive commercial airliners, where military flying demanded split-second tactical decisions. Commercial aviation required a different kind of precision, a marathon of patience and systematic management. Flight school was her first real test. Instructors who had heard whispers of her military record watched her with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Elena wasn't just another pilot, she was a walking contradiction. Fighter pilot turned commercial aviator, a transition few successfully navigated. Her first simulator session was a humbling experience. The Boeing 787 simulator felt like a lumbering giant compared to her nimble F-16. Where she once danced through combat scenarios, now she was learning the intricate ballet of passenger safety, fuel management, and complex international regulations. The psychological adjustment was even more challenging. Military flying was about mission completion, sometimes at extraordinary costs. Commercial aviation demanded a different calculus. Every life was precious. Every decision weighed against passenger comfort and safety. Nights were the hardest. Elena would wake up, muscles tensed, heart racing, phantom memories of combat missions mixing with civilian flight scenarios. Her apartment, a sparse collection of military mementos and carefully organized civilian clothes, reflected her internal struggle. Her mother noticed the change first. Maria Rodriguez, always perceptive, saw the subtle shifts. "You're not just changing jobs," she said during a late-night phone call. "You're rewriting your entire language of survival." Networking became a strategic operation. Elena approached commercial aviation like a complex mission, mapping connections, understanding corporate cultures, identifying potential opportunities. Her military contacts proved both a blessing and a challenge. Some opened doors, while others viewed her transition with professional suspicion. Training revealed unexpected strengths. Where other pilots saw routine, Elena saw intricate systems, waiting to be understood. Her ability to process complex information, honed during years of military training, became her greatest asset. Fuel calculations, weather pattern predictions, mechanical system diagnostics, she approached them with the same intensity she once reserved for combat missions. A pivotal moment came during an advanced training scenario. A simulated mechanical failure that would have paralyzed most pilots became her moment of redemption. While others hesitated, Elena's military-trained brain kicked in. Her solution was so precise, so elegantly executed, that it became a case study for future training programs. Senior pilots began to see her differently. She wasn't just another transfer, she was a unique resource. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, to make instantaneous decisions that balanced safety and efficiency, set her apart. The uniform changed, but the warrior remained. Elena's flight suits were now corporate blue instead of military green, but her posture, her attention to detail, her absolute commitment remained unchanged. She was rebuilding herself, not compromising. Financial challenges added another layer of complexity. Military pension versus commercial pilot salary, healthcare transitions, the intricate dance of rebuilding a professional identity, each was a mission unto itself. Elena approached these challenges with the same strategic thinking that had defined her military career. Her first commercial flight as a co-pilot was a symphony of controlled nerves. The aircraft felt different. The mission fundamentally transformed. Where she once protected national interests, Now she was responsible for hundreds of individual stories, each passenger a mission of personal safety. Colleagues slowly recognized something different about her. It wasn't just skill, it was a profound understanding of what flying truly meant. Not just transportation, but a complex human experience of trust, vulnerability, and potential. Romance and personal life became another battlefield of adaptation. Dating was challenging. How do you explain a life lived at the intersection of extraordinary skills and constant reinvention? Her previous relationships had been shaped by military discipline. Civilian dating felt like navigating an entirely new terrain. By the time she became a full-fledged commercial captain, Elena had transformed, not by abandoning her military identity, but by expanding it. She was a bridge between two worlds: military precision and civilian compassion, tactical excellence, and human connection. The sky remained her constant. Whether in a fighter jet or a commercial airliner, Elena Rodriguez had discovered that true flying wasn't about the machine, but about the human potential to navigate the unknown. Her greatest missions were just beginning. The morning began like countless others. Flight to 317 from Chicago to San Francisco would become anything but routine. Elena Rodriguez's pre-flight routine was a symphony of precision. Each checklist, each system check was performed with the muscle memory of a warrior and the meticulous care of a surgeon. The Boeing 787 was more than a machine, it was a living ecosystem of mechanical complexity. As she was its guardian, outside, the sky looked deceptively calm, a thin layer of high altitude. Cirrus clouds painted delicate brushstrokes across a pale blue canvas. Meteorological reports suggested minimal turbulence, typical mid-autumn conditions that promise an uneventful transcontinental flight. The first hint of trouble came 17 minutes after takeoff. A subtle vibration, almost imperceptible to anyone else, caught Elena's attention. Her military-trained senses, honed through years of combat flying, recognized the difference between normal aircraft operation and something potentially catastrophic. First Officer Rodriguez, she called to her co-pilot, Michael Chen. Run a diagnostic on hydraulic system B. Michael's fingers danced across the control panel, his initial confidence slowly transforming into concern. Readings are inconsistent, he muttered, professional calm masking growing anxiety. Elena's mind was already 3 steps ahead. Military training had taught her that survival lived in the spaces between data points, in the intuitive understanding of complex systems under extreme stress. The left hydraulic system began to fail. For most pilots, this would be a crisis. For Elena, it was a complex problem waiting to be solved. Hydraulic systems controlled critical flight surfaces: ailerons, rudder, elevator. A complete failure could mean catastrophic loss of aircraft control. Passengers remained blissfully unaware. A child laughed somewhere in the cabin. A businessman continued typing on his laptop. 236 lives continued their ordinary journeys, unknowingly balanced on a knife's edge of potential disaster. Elena's communication with air traffic control was a masterclass of controlled professional communication. No panic, no excess drama, just precise, actionable information. Chicago Center, Flight 2317. We're experiencing hydraulic system anomalies, requesting immediate assessment and potential emergency. Landing protocols. The next 17 minutes would define her entire career. Mechanical failure was a language Elena understood intimately. Where others saw chaos, she saw a complex problem with multiple potential solutions. Her mind mapped potential scenarios faster than the aircraft's onboard computers. Backup hydraulic systems began to show strain. Temperature readings spiked. Pressure differential suggested imminent system collapse. Michael looked at her, a mix of professional respect and controlled fear in his eyes. Elena's calm was infectious. "We're going to land this bird," she said. Not a hope, a statement of absolute certainty. The nearest suitable airport was Sacramento Executive Airport. Shorter runway, less margin for error, challenging approach conditions. Elena began recalculating everything: fuel weight, wind conditions, aircraft configuration, potential mechanical failure progression. Each variable was a chess piece, and she was playing a game where losing meant 136 lives. Her hands on the controls were steady, no tremor, no hesitation. Pure muscle memory married to instantaneous computational thinking. Prepare passengers for potential emergency landing, she instructed the lead flight attendant. Her voice carried the same calm she once used during high-stakes military missions. The aircraft began its descent, each movement calculated with microscopic precision. The hydraulic system was failing, but Elena was transforming the Boeing 787 into an extension of her will. Wind conditions became increasingly complex. Sacramento's runway presented multiple challenges: crosswinds, slightly shorter than ideal, minimal error tolerance. Elena's military training crystallized into this moment. Fighter pilots understood that true skill wasn't about perfect conditions. It was about making impossible situations work. The landing approach was a ballet of controlled violence, slight corrections, minute adjustments. The aircraft responded to her touch like a living creature, sensing her absolute command. Touchdown was not a crash. It was a controlled embrace with the earth. The Boeing 787 kissed the runway with a precision that seemed to defy mechanical limitations. Minimal tire stress, perfect centerline alignment, complete passenger safety. As emergency vehicles surrounded the aircraft, complete silence filled the cabin. Then applause, spontaneous, overwhelming. 236 lives, saved by a combination of technological understanding, military-trained reflexes, and human determination. Elena Rodriguez had just redefined what it meant to be a pilot. The sky had tested her. She had passed with extraordinary grace. The world moved in a blur of camera flashes and microphones. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a media storm that felt more chaotic than any combat mission she had ever experienced. Sacramento Executive Airport became ground zero of a story that would captivate the nation. What had begun as a potential catastrophe transformed into a narrative of extraordinary human capability. The initial NTSB investigation confirmed what passengers already knew. This wasn't just a successful emergency landing. This was a miracle. In the days following the incident, personal accounts began to emerge. Sarah Thompson, a cancer survivor, traveling to see her grandchildren, described Elena as an angel with pilot wings. Mark Rodriguez, a tech entrepreneur, recalled the moment of potential disaster. There was this incredible calm, no panic, just pure professional control. Media outlets dubbed her the miracle pilot. Viral videos captured snippets of her post-landing interview, a study in professional humility. When asked about her extraordinary actions, Elena's response was characteristically understated. "Training kicks in," she said. "You don't think, you act." But the story was far more complex than a simple heroic narrative. Behind the scenes, the technical investigation revealed the true magnitude of her achievement. The hydraulic system failure was more severe than initially reported. Multiple redundant systems had been compromised by all standard aviation metrics. The landing should have been impossible. Aviation experts began to dissect every moment of the flight. Flight simulators attempted to recreate the exact conditions. Pilot training programs used her approach as a case study. Elena had done more than land an aircraft. She had rewritten the understanding of human capability under extreme stress. Her family watched the media circus with a mixture of pride and protective concern. Maria Rodriguez, her mother, fielded calls from relatives, news outlets, and long-lost connections. Her father, Miguel, simply smiled. She was always going to be extraordinary, he told reporters. Even as a little girl, she saw challenges as opportunities. Psychological evaluations became part of the narrative. How does a pilot maintain such extraordinary calm? Experts pointed to her military background. But those who knew Elena understood it was something more profound, a fundamental understanding of human potential. The passengers began to organize. What started as individual stories of gratitude transformed into a collective movement. They raised funds for a scholarship in her name, designed to support women entering aviation. Elena was both uncomfortable with and moved by the attention. Her airline, initially cautious, soon recognized the extraordinary PR opportunity. Press conferences became carefully choreographed events. Elena moved through them with the same precision she had displayed during the emergency landing. Controlled, professional, slightly detached. Unexpected recognition began to pour in. The FAA proposed a special commendation. Pilot associations reached out. Speaking invitations multiplied. Elena found herself navigating a world entirely different from both her military and initial commercial aviation experiences. Personal interviews revealed layers beyond the heroic narrative. She spoke about the mathematical precision of flying, the human element of aviation, the delicate balance between technological understanding and human intuition. "Flying isn't about conquering machines," she told one interviewer. "It's about understanding complex systems, whether those are aircraft or human beings." Psychological experts found her fascinating. Her ability to maintain absolute calm under extreme pressure became a subject of academic study. Neuroscientists requested brain scans, hoping to understand the physiological mechanisms behind such extraordinary performance. The military aviation community watched with particular interest. While Elena had transitioned to commercial flying, her fighter pilot background was an open secret. Colleagues from her previous squadron reached out, a mixture of professional pride and personal connection. Social media transformed her into an overnight icon. Memes, inspirational quotes, and detailed breakdowns of her landing went viral. She became more than a pilot. She was a symbol of human potential. Yet beneath the media spectacle, Elena remained fundamentally unchanged. She continued her training. She maintained her rigorous physical fitness routine. To her, the landing was simply another professional challenge successfully navigated. Her co-pilot, Michael Chen, became a crucial part of her support system. Their professional bond, forged in those critical moments of potential disaster, transcended typical workplace relationships. He understood, perhaps better than anyone, the true complexity of what had occurred. Insurance investigations, typically long and complex, moved with unprecedented speed. The combination of Elena's precise documentation and the clear evidence of her extraordinary skills expedited the process. As weeks passed, the initial media frenzy began to subside, but the fundamental story remained a testament to human capability, professional training, and the extraordinary potential that lives within seemingly ordinary moments. Elena Rodriguez had transformed from a commercial pilot to a national hero, and her greatest challenges were still ahead. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, unmarked except for a military postal stamp. Elena Rodriguez recognized the handwriting immediately. Major Jack Harper, her former squadron commander. Inside, a single photograph, a moment captured during her most classified mission, surrounded by her F-16 squadron. Memories crashed like thunder waves, threatening to overwhelm her carefully constructed civilian life. It began with a phone call, not to her, but to the airline's corporate headquarters. 3 F-16 pilots, decorated veterans, requesting a formal meeting to complete the narrative of her extraordinary emergency landing. The airline's PR team was initially hesitant. A classified military history was about to become very public. Elena's background had been deliberately obscured during her hiring standard protocol for many military transfers, but now that would change. Major Jack Harper arrived first, 62 years old, his military bearing unchanged by time. Colonel Maria Sanchez and Lieutenant Commander David Chen flanked him, each a legend in their own right, each connected to Elena's extraordinary military past. The conference room felt like a war room. Military precision met corporate formality. Old photographs were spread like intelligence briefings, mission logs, classified commendations, a mosaic of a life Elena had carefully compartmentalized. Some stories, Major Harper began, his voice carrying the weight of decades of classified operations, are too important to remain hidden. They revealed a military record that read like an impossible screenplay, classified missions over conflict zones, tactical interventions that had prevented international incidents, moments of extraordinary strategic decision-making that had saved hundreds of lives. Long before her commercial aviation heroics, her most classified mission remained a ghost story among military aviation circles, a high-risk reconnaissance operation over a hostile territory where she had single-handedly prevented a potential escalation that could have triggered international conflict. "The medal we wanted to give you," Colonel Sanchez said, sliding the classified commendation across the table, was classified for national security reasons. The photograph from the envelope told a story of its own. Elena, younger, standing beside her F-16, surrounded by her squadron. A moment of triumph after a mission so sensitive it had been immediately classified. Media interest exploded. Top Gun pilot saves to 136 became the headline that transformed her from a national hero to a global phenomenon. Each revealed detail added layers to her already extraordinary narrative. Military aviation forums buzzed with discussions. Pilots, who had only heard rumors, now had confirmation. Elena Rodriguez wasn't just a skilled pilot, she was a strategic asset who had transitioned her extraordinary skills to civilian aviation. Her family watched the unfolding story with a mixture of pride and protective concern. Maria Rodriguez, her mother, understood the delicate balance of public recognition and personal privacy. Classified mission details remained intentionally vague, but the broad strokes painted a picture of extraordinary courage. A pilot who could transform potential international disasters into moments of strategic resolution. The military colleagues who came forward weren't just sharing a story. They were completing a narrative of service, of extraordinary human potential that transcended traditional boundaries. Lieutenant Commander Chen shared a particularly revealing detail. Elena wasn't just a pilot, he told reporters. She was a living strategy. Where others saw obstacles, she saw solutions. Psychological profiles from her military service began to surface. Evaluations that highlighted her extraordinary spatial awareness, her ability to process complex information faster than standard computational systems, her intuitive understanding of complex mechanical and human systems. Her original squadron created a scholarship in her name, not just for aspiring pilots, but for individuals who demonstrated extraordinary problem-solving capabilities and strategic thinking. The revelation wasn't just about her past. It was about redefining what it meant to be a professional in high-stakes environments. Elena had become a bridge between military precision and civilian innovation. Social media exploded with support. Military veterans, commercial airline employees, and global audiences found inspiration in her journey. She represented something more than a successful pilot. She was a testament to human potential. During a carefully managed press conference, Elena spoke with her characteristic blend of humility and precision. Service takes many forms, she said, whether in a fighter jet or a commercial airliner. The fundamental mission remains the same: protecting lives. Her co-pilot, Michael Chen, stood beside her. The connection between their professional and personal understanding had deepened. He now understood the full complexity of the woman he had flown with during that miraculous landing. As the media storm settled, one thing became clear. Elena Rodriguez was not just a pilot. She was a living narrative of extraordinary human capability, a story that continued to unfold, with each chapter more remarkable than the last. The sky, it seemed, was not her limit. It was her beginning. The Presidential Medal of Valor ceremony was a symphony of controlled emotion. Elena Rodriguez stood on the stage of the White House East Room, a single point of stillness amid a hurricane of national recognition. Her journey had transformed. From a personal narrative to a national inspiration, women in aviation saw her as a beacon. Military veterans recognized a kindred spirit. Ordinary citizens found in her story a renewed belief in human potential. The medal itself was almost secondary. What mattered was the journey, a story of transformation that transcended traditional boundaries of service, gender, and expectation. Behind the public persona, Elena wrestled with the complexity of sudden fame. Every interview, every public appearance was a carefully choreographed dance between authenticity and professional distance. She had spent years learning to control complex aircraft. Now she was learning to navigate an equally complex media landscape. Her speaking engagements became more than simple recounting of her extraordinary landing. They were masterclasses in leadership, in human potential, in the art of turning crisis into opportunity. Universities, military academies, corporate leadership conferences all sought her insights. A documentary team approached her, hoping to capture her extraordinary journey. Elena was cautious. Her life was not a simple narrative to be packaged and consumed. Each moment of her story represented years of dedication, sacrifice, and strategic thinking. Her family became her anchor. Maria Rodriguez, her mother, continued teaching high school science, using her daughter's story as a subtle inspiration for young students. Her father, Miguel, managed the increased attention with a quiet dignity that reflected their family's core values. Psychological challenges lurked beneath the surface. The transition from a classified military career to national hero was not without its emotional toll. Elena began working with a therapist specializing in military transitions, unpacking layers of experiences that had been carefully compartmentalized. The scholarship in her name became more than a simple educational fund. It was a platform for supporting women in high-stakes professions: aviation, military, emergency services. Each recipient represented a continuation of her legacy. Military and civilian aviation communities found in her a unique bridge. She spoke a language that transcended traditional boundaries. Her insights were not just about flying, they were about human potential, about turning challenges into opportunities. Unexpected connections emerged. Other female veterans reached out, sharing stories of transformation, of breaking barriers. Elena became more than an individual hero. She was a collective voice for those who had fought battles both in the sky and in professional landscapes. Her relationship with her former military squadron deepened. What had begun as a professional connection transformed into a chosen family. Major Jack Harper and Colonel Maria Sanchez became more than former commanders. They were mentors, supporters, extended family. Corporate opportunities flooded in. Consulting roles, leadership training programs, motivational speaking circuits. Elena was careful. She understood that her value was not in commodifying her experience, but in genuinely sharing insights that could transform organizations and individual perspectives. A book deal emerged, not a simple memoir, but a complex exploration of leadership, crisis management, and human potential. Elena worked closely with the writer, ensuring that the narrative was not just about her, but about the broader human capacity for extraordinary action. Her co-pilot, Michael Chen, became a crucial part of her support system. Their professional connection had transformed into a deep friendship, built on mutual respect and shared extraordinary experience. He understood the complexities of her journey in a way few others could. The psychological weight of heroism became a topic of serious discussion. How does one maintain personal identity when transformed into a national symbol? Elena approached this challenge with the same strategic thinking she had applied to her most complex missions. Her continued work as a commercial pilot became a statement. She was not retiring into a life of speaking and writing. She remained committed to the fundamental mission of aviation, protecting lives, ensuring safety, maintaining the delicate balance between human skill and technological precision. International recognition followed: aviation safety conferences, leadership symposiums, military strategy discussions. Elena became a global voice for professional excellence, for the idea that true leadership transcends traditional boundaries. Personal relationships remained complex. The intensity of her professional life made traditional romantic connections challenging. She was unapologetically committed to her professional mission, understanding that personal fulfillment came from broader definitions of connection and purpose. As the years passed, Elena Rodriguez became more than a hero of a single moment. She was a living testament to human potential, a bridge between military precision and civilian innovation, a voice for those who understood that true leadership was about continuous transformation. The sky was not her limit, it was her beginning, and her journey was far from over. Time became a different language for Elena Rodriguez. 15 years after the miraculous landing that had transformed her life, she understood that heroism was not a moment, it was a continuous state of becoming. The Rodriguez Center for Advanced Aviation and Leadership stood as a testament to her vision. More than a training facility, it was a living laboratory of human potential. Located on the outskirts of Colorado Springs, the center drew the most innovative minds from military, commercial, and space aviation. Her work had expanded far beyond traditional boundaries. NASA consulted her on human factors in extreme environments. Military academies studied her approach to crisis management. Tech companies sought her insights on human-machine interfaces. A new generation of pilots looked to her not just as a hero, but as a blueprint for professional excellence. The scholarship she had founded had supported over 500 students, predominantly women and minorities from underrepresented backgrounds in aviation. Her latest project was her most ambitious yet, a comprehensive program developing artificial intelligence systems that could complement human decision-making in extreme environments, not replacing human intuition, but amplifying it. Major Jack Harper, now retired, remained her closest mentor. Their relationship had transformed from military chain of command to a deep intellectual partnership. "You've always seen beyond the horizon," he told her during one of their frequent strategy sessions. The technological world had changed dramatically, but Elena's core philosophy remained constant. Human potential was not about individual heroism, but about collective capability. Each breakthrough was a collaborative effort, each innovation a collective achievement. Her personal life remained as complex and intentional as her professional journey. She had chosen a path of purpose over traditional personal milestones. Relationships were deep intellectual connections. Friendships were strategic partnerships. Michael Chen, her former co-pilot, now led the technological innovation division of their research center. Their professional partnership had become a near telepathic collaboration. They understood each other in ways that transcended traditional communication. International recognition continued to find her. The United Nations had invited her to speak on technological innovation and human resilience. Her talks were not motivational speeches, but strategic blueprints for addressing global challenges. The documentary about her life had become a global phenomenon, but Eleanor was careful. She understood the difference between inspiration and commodification. Her story was not about personal glorification, but about expanding collective human potential. Her mother, Maria, now retired, had become a crucial part of the center's educational outreach. She brought decades of teaching experience, transforming technical training into human-centered learning experiences. Technological breakthroughs emerged from their work. Systems that could predict human error in high-stress environments. Training protocols that integrated psychological resilience with technical skill. Educational models that reimagined human learning. The military continued to consult her. Though her role had transformed, she was no longer just a pilot or a strategist, but a holistic human performance architect. Her insights bridged military precision with humanitarian innovation. Global aviation safety had transformed because of her work. The emergency landing that had made her famous was now a case study in comprehensive human-machine interaction. Her approach had fundamentally changed how pilots were trained, how aircraft were designed. Unexpectedly, space exploration became a significant focus. Her work on human performance in extreme environments caught the attention of international space agencies. She was developing training protocols for long-duration space missions, understanding the psychological and physiological challenges of human space exploration. Her scholarship program had expanded globally. Students from conflict zones, from underrepresented communities, found not just financial support, but a comprehensive approach to professional development. Each student was not just given an opportunity, but a strategic pathway to excellence. The Rodriguez Foundation had become a global platform for addressing systemic barriers. In high-stakes professions, it wasn't just about individual success, but about transforming institutional cultures. As her 60th birthday approached, Eleanor reflected on a life that had defied conventional narratives. She had not just broken barriers, she had reimagined what barriers could mean. Her latest book, Beyond Boundaries, Human Potential in Extreme Environments, became an international bestseller, not a traditional memoir, but a strategic blueprint for human innovation. The sky was no longer a limit, it was a beginning. During a rare public speaking engagement, Eleanor shared her core philosophy. Innovation is not about individual heroism, she said, her voice carrying the weight of decades of extraordinary experience. It's about creating ecosystems where human potential can truly flourish. Her journey had never been about a single moment of heroism. It was about continuous transformation, about showing that human potential was not a destination, but a perpetual state of becoming. The horizon continued to expand, and Eleanor Rodriguez was just getting started.